Hello, good evening. Yes, we are just giving people about 5 minutes to join, and so yes, I would start now. Can everybody hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. I believe
Okay,
everyone can.
Good evening,
great.
we can hear you.
Okay, great. We have about 28 people on the call right now.
We can hear you.
My name is Tiffany Folua, and I am happy to be your host once again in the Narrative Africa Starting Your MBA Journey series. Been an amazing 3 sessions so far. We've had Harvard Business School, we've had Stanford, and we've had Wharton. So now we're going out of the US and we're saying, what can you try business schools out of the US? Just in case, for example, you don't like Uncle Trump or something, and then you want to just check out what's going on outside of the US. So yeah, that's why we're doing this. And so far so good. INSEAD is the best non-US school out there. It's number 4 on FD ranking, and that's why we have someone that is ready to, tell us how they did it, tell us, share the whole story from start to finish. I said I was going to do this. My fans, Alpha, how are you doing? hope you're not so sad. I'm sharing virtual hugs all the way from here. I would have given you physical, but there's still COVID, so we can't do a lot of physical. We have to do virtual. Thank you so much for joining. And like I always say, this session is organized by the Narrative Africa. And what the Narrative Africa really tries to do is get people's story. The platform is a community that gets people's story and try to say, what is this thing that you want to achieve? What is this thing that you want to do? Definitely someone somewhere has done it before, and it will be better to hear from that person and try to learn from their good, the bad, and the ugly, whether grass to grace or grace to grace or whatever story that you want to hear. Everybody's story is unique, everybody's story is individual, but you can learn something from this. So while we're starting with our MBA series, we still intend to do other series, like the business series, and any other ideas you guys throw at us, really. So we are open to ideas. We want to know what you want to learn, who you want to look up to, and hopefully you want to know how the person did it. I mean, one day I hope to be able to host Dangote and ask him how he has been able to build, Dangote Industries, for example. So yes, and we hope that over the past 3 sessions, you've been joining, you've learned something, you've taken one step ahead, whatever level you are. Maybe you were at a level of I should apply to this school in Nigeria. Maybe now you're considering, oh, it's possible for me to actually apply outside and get admitted. Maybe you are at the level of, these schools, what do I need to do to get in? And then you're just taking that extra step towards your dream, whatever it is. And we hope that Narrative Africa is helping you to achieve that. Moving on to our guest. Our guest is here. I met Kafio. I think I met him at YPB. I don't know if you can remember, in 2018. I think that was the first time I met Kafio. Yeah, and right now he has gone to INSEAD, is back, and is coming to share his experience. So in like some minutes, Kafio, can you just tell us about yourself and how it has been for you so far till Mackenzie?
Okay, thanks a lot, Wafi. About myself, my name is Kafil. I like to start from there, not just because it's my name, but because for most people that I've met, it's the first time they are meeting someone who bears that name, Kafil. So it's kind of a special name to me. But yeah, business school, and how did I get there, and where am I today? I think what I'll just highlight is, so I started my career in KPMG. For about 2 years before going to business school. So for me, my journey to business school has always been, it started earlier than the time when I actually went, right? So it's something I've been nursing from my KPMG days up until 2019 when I finally did go. And I'm sure we'll talk about the process together, very shortly. But in terms of my experience so far, right, I feel like one big goal I had, right, is really to get an experience that allows you to achieve three things. One is grow your career. Two is really meet people like from everywhere around the world, and three is get sort of global best practice kind of learning or content or knowledge base, right? That's such that whatever you know at every point in time is not just restricted to like where you are, but there's really like this global relevance to whatever it is that you know. And these are kind of the things that have been driving my quest for either knowledge or schooling in the recent years. Um, INSEAD itself for me was an amazing experience. You mentioned that it's the best school out of the US. I would beg to differ on that. But let's have that conversation later. Let's not get into that drill right now. But
I'm
because
sorry, I'm just empty.
it's
Not
fine,
me. It's empty.
INSEAD is called the best. It's called we call ourselves the business school for the world, and there's a couple of reasons for that, right? Because we really do think that it's as far as business schools go, if you really want to experience all of the world, right, INSEAD is the place to go. And we'll get into all of that details, I guess, as we go ahead. But for me, it was an amazing experience. So if I would just cut my long story short, I had a great time with meeting like people from all around the world, which was top of my priority for going to business school. I think the learning quality was very good as well. In a sense, that's almost a given from a business school, so I wouldn't like index too much on that. And thirdly, right, it was really like building the connections that I feel is the most value you get from a program like this. So for me, it's the network you build, the people you meet, and how you could keep drawing from that, over the next couple of years, decades, lifetime, call it that. But then after INSEAD here at McKinsey, I've been a consultant before, so it's not so much of a drastic shift for me, to be honest. But I also wanted to go back to consulting because I had the benefits of doing consulting and also doing like industry related kind of work. So I could tell, like I had the benefit of where do you vibe the most? Like, do you want to stay? Okay, I'll give you a very good comparison. Do you want to stay on a job where you can do a new project, a new task, meet a new client every like other 4 weeks or every other 2 months, versus do you want to stay in an organization where you have like so much stability, but then you are like stuck with whatever you're doing for like 1-2 years, maybe more. And it was almost like kind of a natural response for me to just say, consulting is the way to be. Yeah. Happy to share more on that journey if we get time to do that as well on this call. Yeah, so that's a not so summary synthesis of my story, if you put it that way.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I mean, sorry. So right now, yeah, what I get from your last statement is I probably should not consider industry. So if you're tired in consulting, maybe industry might be worse off, right? We
It depends on what you want.
Okay. So right now we'll just be going into the session. First and foremost, disclaimer, like I said earlier, this session is organized by The Narrative Africa, not INSEAD Business School. If you want any official information from the school, please visit the school's website. They have loads and loads of information. Nigerians, let's research. There's information right there. Finn is not going to tell you that there's a waiver or there's no waiver. You have to check their website for that. If you want to get any information from admissions committee, please reach out to INSEAD via their website. And the second thing is, like always, this is just going to be a conversation. I have a list of questions for Kafil to answer, which I hope would cover most of our expectations. However, if I did not cover your question or I did not ask about it, please feel free to use the chat, send me a message, and then after my questions, I would take them if we still have time. And of course, I have a freebie today. So please, if you have your friends that have not yet joined and they're not here yet, you want to reach out to them and say there's a freebie, especially if you're applying to this school. So please, let's be attentive. In about an hour, we'll be done and we'll move out of here, right? Okay. So I guess we can start now. I mean, when you started introducing yourself, you tried to talk about INSEAD and the experience, the schooling, and all of that. So I would say, why INSEAD for you over other schools, and especially other US schools, or even maybe a school in Europe, for example. So why did you decide to go to INSEAD? And also the INSEAD program is a one-year program, right? So how intense was it, considering most US schools? I know UK is still a year, but US schools, they have 2 years. And one thing that has always been a drawback personally from me is that internship that you get to do between your first year and your second year to maybe try and explore various job roles is not there in a one-year program. So I'll just want you to talk about that.
Okay, great. So why INSEAD over US schools? And like you said, I think this is a very, very personal question, right? So I'll share my perspective.
Yes, please.
So in trying to go to business school, there were a couple of things that I was looking for. So I guess that's the first question. So anyone applying to business school, so like, what are you looking to get out of this experience? One of the big reasons why people go to the US is because they want to work in the US afterwards, right? So if that's your goal, then you probably want to apply to a school in the US so that you school there, you have better chances to network with people that work there, with organizations that probably, fits the kind of profile that you're looking at. And then it's an easy ride for you, right? In my case, I wasn't looking to work in the US. So for me, going to the US was not so much of an incentive. The other big thing that people consider is how long do you want to spend out of. So like I said earlier, I was already working before I decided to go to school. Yeah. And for anyone who is working already, there's always this conversation of, do you really want to leave work for 2 years?
No.
And there are financial implications to that. Yeah. And there could also be career implications to that, right? So for me, I wanted a one-year program because I didn't think I had 2 years to spend in school. I like to go to school to learn. I don't know that I like school so much to spend another 2 years at the time. So I felt like a one-year program was just about right for me, right? I get the same MBA experience. I get opportunity for networking and all of that. I get the global context I'm trying to look to solve for. And I do it in shorter time, right? 1 year. So that was a very, very good sale to me. So because of the 1 year thing, like I was very clear I didn't want to do 2 years. So most of the US schools were no longer on my radar at the time. So it was more a conversation of, do you do it in the UK or in France where INSEAD is, and blah, blah, blah. So at the time I was applying again, INSEAD was number 1. On the FT ranking, they're currently number 4, which is true, but yeah, at the time they were number 1. So I was like, okay, if you were to shoot for the best school, then shoot for the best school, right? So apply to INSEAD. So in a way, the ranking also like influenced my decision to apply to INSEAD. I went for a couple of information sessions organized by, I can't remember the name right now. There's this MBA group that does all this stuff. Anyway, MBA what?
MBA tour that brings various schools.
Yes, exactly, that's it. So I went for a couple of these sessions, engaged with some of this, representatives from these schools, and the more I looked, the more the INSEAD proposition, just felt right for me. So 1 year, check. Global opportunity, check. International experience, check. And I'll explain why it's check for INSEAD versus maybe other schools around the world. I feel like at INSEAD, you really get an international community in terms of the student body, because a lot of people who get admitted into the program are actually people who have lived and worked in different countries, like in more diverse countries than you would find, for example, in the US. So you have like guys who have lived, grown up, studied, worked, whatever in Brazil or India, or in my case, Nigeria, or where we have guys from Uzbekistan, like countries that I've only seen and heard on radio or on television or whatever. Like you meet people who have come from this place. So you really get this very international experience that you may not get elsewhere, maybe not even in an LDS, to be fair. So those are so I guess my point here is, first is to understand what exactly am I trying to solve for? What am I trying to get from this program? In my case, it was short time. It was global experience. It was not wanting to work in the US anyway. So going to the US was not a big sell for me. Maybe if I wanted to really stay back in the US, that would have been something to look at. But for me, it wasn't the case. And there's just something about, the more you read about and learn about the school, right? The more, okay, maybe another thing for me was the fact that INSEAD has 3 campuses, right? So you have an opportunity to study in France, in Singapore, and in Abu Dhabi. And that was like one big part of my journey going into an MBA was also the travel opportunity. So I felt like I already had access to 3 continents by just signing up onto this program. So why not do it, right? So those were like my big considerations in choosing the program. And if it's anything to, buttress my point at all, I only applied to INSEAD. I didn't apply to any other school. You're mute me.
I just said bravo. Like, I really hail guys that just apply to one business school and like, you know what, I believe I can get this, and they just do it. You need to teach us your skill, your trick rather, before we leave. Okay, so thank you so much for that response. I mean, like you said, it's very personal. It depends on what you want to do and what you're looking out for. So while I was speaking, you mentioned MBA tour, and I think people should really check it out. I think they're going to start their African MBA tour from next week, October 10th. So you want to maybe register for that. You have various schools reach out to you. You can join their personal sessions, and these sessions can help you in making the decisions that you need to make. I mean, you need to research. Just like I said, it's personal. You find what is calling out to you before you decide on your business goal. So yes, check out MBA tour. I think it's by GMAC, and I was part of it last year, and it was very helpful, and I think people should try it out as well. Finally, on INSEAD, before we move on, is our outreach is the INSEAD network in Africa. I'm talking about alumni and all of that, and how well do you guys get to connect? I've heard cases in which people in other business schools will tell you, oh, I can literally just call up this my colleague that is in Brazil and say I have this project to work on. And so, especially for Africans, how rich is the African network and how rich is the global network?
Okay, so the INSEAD alumni community globally is, I think, currently about 60,000 people as at the time I graduated, so it should be more now. I think the alumni community, a lot of business schools actually take the alumni community very important. But I think for INSEAD, it's like a step more important than you find elsewhere. And it's everything from your application process. So you can't get into INSEAD without engaging with at least 2 alumni. So interview process, the application process also embeds engagement with alumni. So they do interview you, get to meet you, and then, well, I think of it like they're trying to assess if they want you to join the INSEAD clique or not. and that's the way I saw it. So the alumni community is something that INSEAD takes into very important. African representation in INSEAD is still a little bit on the low side, right? And that's an incentive for people to apply, because every school is trying to ensure that they have a diverse pool of candidates, right? So there's all these interventions to ensure that they're getting more applications from Africa and ultimately admitting more students from Africa. But what that means also is that the alumni community may not be as large, right, in Africa compared to some other schools, right? Because it's a function of how many people actually get into the school. That said, I know that there's a lot of activity that goes on. I mean, the Nigerian community is quite active. They do sessions and programs every now and then. They had one before I went to school. I couldn't attend. I don't remember. I didn't attend, but I know they had a session before I went to school. Then we have this alumni day we do. I mean, you get to it's easy for you to connect and reach out to any INSEAD alum. One, you have access to everyone that has been to INSEAD because it's the directory that gives you access to everyone that has passed through the school. And I think there's just this, and maybe it's the same for other business because I don't know, but I can say this much for INSEAD. There's just this sense of family that you have when you are reaching out to or hearing from an INSEAD person, which makes it easy for you to like use those networks, right, to get to to advance your own as a person as well. So whether it's thinking about how you want to grow your career or trying to get contacts for a new job opportunity, I mean, I'm part of a WhatsApp group that is inside Africa, and then we get like all these notifications every now and then on opportunities that people take advantage of. And what that means is that certain guys are just a WhatsApp chat away from you, right? And these are people that are like well placed in society or that have gotten to like a very advanced stage of their career, if not at the pinnacle already. So I feel like you get access to this richness, and it's something that the school takes to be very important, and it only gets better. I feel I'm still young as an alumni, right? I finished in 2019, but I feel like the benefits that I will get from this network is probably even ahead of me and not even here right now.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Then moving on to application and the whole process. So I will start with, when you were speaking, you mentioned that you started thinking about an MBA far back as when you were still with KPMG, and I think that has driven your decision so far till you applied. So when did you really start, and what was your thought process like? What did you start doing? Because I mean, sometimes in applications you have to say leadership activity, volunteer activities, and how did those that thought or that realization that I would be applying for an MBA in, I think you have applied in 2018, that what did you start doing? What new thing did you start doing? And what should anybody considering to apply for an MBA within the next 5 years start doing to be able to submit a strong application?
So for me, I think I started considering MBA. Like I've always considered an MBA since I left university in 2011, or at least to frame that question better, to frame the answer better. Like I had always known I didn't want to do an MSc. I wanted to do an MBA, right? So I never. Okay, I considered an MSc once, but I really didn't give it like much thoughts. I knew that I wanted to work for a bit and then apply to business school. So it was very clear. But I think I began to take it more seriously in maybe 2016, thereabout. I had attended one of the MBA tour sessions, and I just felt like, okay, this is something I should like put more effort in. You know, everyone maybe not everyone, but many people at some point consider, oh, I should do an MBA. And while it's a lofty thought to have, like everything that happens between thinking about it and actually getting to do it is a different, a different ballgame.
Very different.
So there's rising over the challenge of getting to write the GMATs, you know, thinking about what will stand you out in terms of your stories and essays, and all of that. I think for me, what did I do specifically? Like, so one thing that I was clear on is the fact that if there's any Nigerian at all that has gotten to these schools, then it just means that there's no reason why I can't get in. So I was very confident in the fact that all I needed to do was to learn the how to get there. And if I did it the way it's been done, I would probably like have a great chance to get into this school. I know that business schools are always looking for leadership potential. And right or wrong, we interpret that leadership potential to mean volunteering. In this part of the world, like we just feel like you need to start an NGO, or you need to try to do something to contribute to the community, and that's right. It's part of being a leader in your community, your society. But I feel like it doesn't just end there. So leadership is more around like driving people to action. So I guess I just wanted to call that out, that you don't have to go and start an NGO, or I mean, it's good. Like you can do it if that's what you're passionate about. Right, do it to contribute to the community and all that, but don't just start an NGO because you want to apply to this school.
Apply to business school.
I want to have a story to tell, right? Because in a way, people see through these things, right? But it's a great opportunity. It's a great way. That's it. It's a great way to show that you're actually passionate about, you know, the community you live in, and you're contributing there. So that's one thing you could do. But other ways you could also show leadership is in developing new products in the office, things as simple as being the one that organizes employee engagement things for your staff at the office, like planning a retreat, planning a development session for your colleagues at work. Like all of these things show leadership. So I just thought to chip it in that B schools always look for leadership potential, but there are several ways that you could show that you're a leader without having to like make it feel like, oh, everyone in Africa is suffering, and then you are the Superman
Savior.
that is saving everybody from hunger or whatever it is they're thinking about. While those are laudable causes and we should do them, my point is it's not just about volunteering. So technically, what did I do? I think first thing is you're not ready to go to B school until you write GMAT. So if you're not writing your GMAT, you're just thinking about it, and it will not happen until you write your GMAT. So if you're on this call and you're not writing GMAT, the first thing you need to do is pay for the exam. If you don't pay for the exam, you will not write it.
Hey.
And that's what I did. Like when I was ready, I decided to just, I just spoke to a friend. We went to one of the centers, paid for the exam, and said, okay, so because I know that I have to write it by this date, then I have to read. And it was, I don't know how much it was then, maybe 60,000 or 100,000, I can't remember specifically. But that was significant money to me at that time. I wasn't ready to lose, to light 60K or 100K and just let it go like that. So that was motivation for me to study for my GMAT. And I feel like your journey really starts when you take the GMAT seriously. Unfortunately, I meet a lot of people who are thinking about going to B school but are not ready to buy the GMAT. And you don't, I guess there are schools where you don't need the GMAT, right? Maybe it's GRE or there's all sorts of other exams you could take these days. Whatever the examination is that applies to your situation, until you're ready to like put in the effort and do it, then you're not taking it seriously. Then there's leadership and stories around that. I already did volunteering work. I've always done volunteering work all my life. Well, not all my life, like not since I was born, but like from when I was in university. And for me, it was things as simple as I would be a part of, maybe my church, for example, would go on a village outreach, and I'm part of it. Like that's volunteering. Like I was always like active and stuff like that. And those are some of the things that came out in my story, because I've done that as a university student. I've done that as a corporate serving in Kaduna State, and then sometime in KPMG, I actually started an NGO as well with. Well, at that time, it was not an NGO, it was just like an outreach, but now it's a full-fledged NGO with some of my colleagues at the office then. Then you need to get recommenders, right? And I think there's always the question here on who should you get, who should recommend you, blah, blah, blah. My simple guide here is you need someone that can speak to your strengths. Like big names don't matter. Harvard alum is great, but if the person cannot see the right things, then like INSEAD alum is cool, but if the person can't say the right thing about you, the person can't really sell you, right? Speak about the strengths that you have, cite relevant examples of how you've been distinctive in your role, either as an employee or in a non-professional context. Like that is what you should look out for. So people that can speak to your strengths, that can communicate to the admissions committee on how you can, what's the word? How you an addition to the cohorts they are looking to set up. And that's also like a broad theme for your application as a person. So whether you apply to INSEAD, Harvard, whatever it is, Stanford, one question you should have in mind is the admissions committee is looking for diverse profiles. So what is it about me that no one else is going to say? Because trust me, if you say I have a first class, I know 1 million Nigerians who have a first class. If you say, it's good that you have a first class, don't get me wrong, but it's like you need to tell your story in a way that when you bring in all the pieces together, your first class or 2-1 or whatever it is you finished with, your leadership qualities, your community service, your work experience, that when you piece all of those things together, the admissions committee is looking like there's no one else in this cohort that we've admitted that fits this profile. So we want this person in. So that's what you should be solving for, right? As you think about your application process. But yeah, I've touched on GMAT, take it seriously, write it. I've touched on essays, tell your story in such a way that makes you stand out. one thing that worked for me is I read a lot of essays of people that got into business school. Like, how are they telling their story? Because there's the content and there's the presentation. You can have a great story, but you're not telling it right. And I feel like a lot of Nigerians already have a great story. Like we, I mean, we already, in a way, are faced with situations and challenges that requires you to go over and beyond to be able to surmount those things and come out successful. So I feel like every Nigerian already has a story. Every Nigerian that has gone to university and come out like with a good grade has a story to tell. So what is it that is unique about you? What have you learned along the way, like that you can bring in to show that yes, you have the right level of you have the right mindset, you have the right value system, you're thinking about your career in a global context and not just in local context. You know, you want to contribute to the advancement of the world in general, and you're not just like focused on your little cubicle. And you know, all of those things come to light. So I would encourage you to read stories of people that have gotten into B school. If you Google it, you would find a lot of examples, like 1 million examples. And then that can like give you and a way to like structure your story as well. I'm mindful of time, so let me just wrap up this answer. I think the other thing is, so content is one for your stories. The other thing is the presentation. You need to tell a story that someone is reading and they're happy or they're excited to read. It's like they're like, oh, this is like at least it's exciting. And how do you tell your story as a Nigerian? So I'll use INSEAD as an example. So you're a Nigerian guy applying, you work at NBC. There's some French woman, maybe she's 45 years old on the admissions committee. She's never been to Nigeria before. She knows Nigeria is a country on the African continent. She doesn't know much about the country. So how do you, relate your own experiences in such a way that she is able to understand your context? So that's something you need to bring out in your stories as well. Like you need to contextualize stuff for people. So I'll give you a very good example that highlights this. One of the points I added in my stories is the fact that I had won an ICANN award. If I say I won an ICANN award, like to a Nigerian, you understand that ICANN is difficult. Most guys probably don't pass ICANN in one go. So maybe you've done something great. But to someone who's in the UK or US, or they don't even know what ICANN is. So helping them understand that this is an examination taken by accountants, or maybe over 5,000 people take this examination and you came out tops of 5,000 people, helps them put things in context. So there's that like storytelling skill you need to learn as well to present your story in such a way that people can understand the context of where you're coming from. I will stop there because I tend to talk a lot sometimes.
So you've actually touched on a lot of things which are like questions that we're still supposed to ask, right? So I will just brush over them when we get there. But before we move on from this, the last question around pre-application is how did you said that you wanted to apply to INSEAD and INSEAD was the best school, and if there was a Nigerian that's gotten in, then you believe you could get in. But how did you get over this feeling that, is my profile ready? Should I apply this year or next year? Do I have a good story to tell? How did you just get over that feeling, considering that thousands and thousands of people are applying to this same business school?
Yeah, good question. And simple answer is, I think I told you touched on this earlier. I never for once did I think I wasn't going to get it. Because I just felt like, I just have a mindset that if they will pick one person, why is that person on me? What that means is maybe I need to like take the steps and actions to present my candidacy as someone who should be taken. But I never had a mindset issue of you can't get in. Like the question was never will you get in? The question was how will you get in? Like what do you need to do to get in? What do you need to convince people that you are the right candidate? And it was everything from like if you go to the INSEAD website, they tell you that we are looking for 4 things: academic capacity, global, blah blah blah. There are 4 things. Like, and Murphy mentioned the point earlier that please go to whatever school you're applying to. Go to the website. Everything you need for a great application is there. Some schools even give you tips on how to write your essay. Go through all those materials because sometimes it's the difference between you can write a good essay that is good for an INSEAD but not good for an Harvard, or good for a Harvard but not good for an INSEAD, right? So take time to like whatever school you're applying to, study the material they have on your admissions page, and then use them very, very well. So I watched all the videos. I watched all the videos about. I could literally tell you where the classrooms were in INSEAD without having been to France. Because I had seen videos of the school campus where the gym is, where the amphitheaters are. I'd watched videos on the 4 things that INSEAD wants you to show in your application. And I kept asking myself, so what have I done that communicates this to the community, right? So I feel like it's, you can get in. Like there's nothing that stops anyone from getting into this school if you have like, I mean, of course, there are a lot of things that can stop you. Like there's the basics, right? You have a good GMAT score, you have worked in, you have good experience, you have the right attitude towards leadership and global, you have a global mindset and drive. Like if you already have those basics, it's just about packaging yourself, right? Bringing all those content together and showing to the, it's more of showing to the community that yes, you are the right person for for the slot that is about to be filled. So yeah, to answer your question very simply, I never for once thought that I wouldn't get in. For me, it was more a question of how would you get in and what do you need to do. So whether it's reading more about the school so that I know everything I need to know, or speaking to like people that have been walked that journey before now, whatever it is I needed to do, I just got it
done. So I think that's very, very important and apt. It's really moving on from can I get into what do I need to do to get in, and just going through that process, learning everything you need to do. And I mean, it's really, really not impossible, right?
Yep.
And moving on to GMAT, right? You said you're not really serious about this school until you actually write your exam. And for INSEAD, like I don't know if you can see my screen, the range is between 670 to 750, and considering work, then add legal stress and all of that to it. First, I don't know if you mind sharing your score and how many times you had to write it. Then my second question is how high or low have you sent? And at what point should I stop trying? So maybe my first time I got a 570, my second time I got a 620. I'm getting frustrated and tired, or I got a 670, which is like the lower band, and I'm wondering, should I still try again, or should I just stop and then go to other aspects of the applications that are equally important?
Yeah, I guess first point here is there are 4 things that INSEAD looks for in its candidates. Academic capacity is one of those 4. One of the ways to show academic capacity is high GMAT scores. Well, maybe the most prominent way, because chances are that even if you had a first class or whatever, you had a 5.0, that was like a couple of years back because you'd have been working. So this is like a more relevant data or more recent data. So it's high GMAT scores. And again, even if you didn't have like like if you didn't have a good first degree in terms of maybe you had a tutu, for example, like a GMAT score is a way you can show that that was then, this is me now. So it's a very good way to show that you have what it takes to cope with academic rigor. However, it is 25% of 100%. So even if you scored 800, which I believe is the highest score that you can get from the GMAT, you've only satisfied 25% of the requirements. So every other thing around, global diversity and global mindset or whatever it is they're looking out for, you need to also like balance those elements in your application. I say that to say that GMAT is very important, extremely important to your application, but it's not the only thing that they look at. That they look at your application in its entirety. So yes, GMAT is the place to start because bad GMAT score, you're not going anywhere. Let's not deceive ourselves. But I will come to the question of what is a bad GMAT score. But let me pen that for now. So yeah, I needed to like set that context of you need to be conscious of the fact that a high GMAT score is great, but then it wouldn't like, it's not all that there is to your application. The second thing I like to highlight is I feel like, and I say this from experience of interacting with people around me. I don't want to say Nigerians, but unfortunately, the most people I have around me that I can refer to in this case are actually Nigerians. We start preparing for the GMAT too late. Like we want to do magic in 3 months. I don't know. Like give these things time. Give it time to prepare for the exam. Give time to The GMAT is a standardized test. What it means is that there's a how to pass the GMAT. It's not just an aptitude test. There's thinking about what kind of question is this? What are they trying to test? So how should I respond? That's not science, that's an art. And you can learn it. You can know there are certain question types in the GMAT. So you can learn all of those things, right? That can help you improve how you do on the test. So I feel like people need to commit more sufficient time to prepare for the exam than most people actually do. So yeah, start early. In my case, I think I was lucky. I started late as well, like most Nigerians. Like, I've been pushing it for too long, and I was like, okay, I need to do this year. Like, I had a goal, as an aside. My goal was to finish my MBA before I turned 30. And in 2018, I was going to turn 30 in 2 years. So I was like, if I don't go to school next year, I'm not going to meet that goal. While I believe age is not a barrier, right? For me, it was just a goal for me. So January 2018, I said I must write this exam in March. So I put in for the exam. I typically had no life again. I was just like studying and reading. It helped that for some reason I was not in consulting at the time. So maybe I had some extra flexibilities with time, but then I know people who have left for school from consulting. So I agree that it can be much more pressure in terms of the work pace, but it's not undoable because people have done it. And I'm always like, if someone has done it, then you can do it. My first goal was 620. And like you've put on the screen, it was nowhere close to the lower end of the middle range, 80%. So I had to make a decision. I wanted to apply for round one because I just felt like it gave me more time. So I had to make a decision between apply with this score or write the exam later and apply with a better score. And what I'm about to say now is strictly what I did. I really wouldn't recommend it, to be honest. But that's what I did, because this is like what I did. So I applied with my 620. I was like, what's the worst that will happen? They will say no. And then I'll go and rewrite the exam and reapply, right? So I decided to put in the 620 and then focus on making sure that my essays were like top notch. Like I looked at every other thing that could help my case and then focus my effort there. Anyways, unsurprisingly, they came back to me and said, Guy, I'm paraphrasing now, but Guy, your application is good enough, but your GMAT scores don't just make it for us. So we would encourage you to retake the GMAT and reapply when you think your scores better reflect, your whatever. I don't remember the words, but when you think your scores are better, reapply. And remember that I had and I guess I'm already answering the question of what were your scores. So because I'm already getting into that. So by the time they came back, I still wanted to go to business school that year. So I was like, no, I still have to do it. So I went back to like get my books. Put in another date for 2 months after when I got the initial feedback. And we wrote my GMAT 2 days before the deadline for round 3, because round 2 was passed already. It also helps that my initial application was round 1, because if it was round 3, then it means that I lost it. And then I got the option of, Guy, it's just your GMAT. So if you're able to like rewrite the exam within this cycle, then you can still apply with your existing application, but just update the scores. And they do that a lot, right? If it's a very specific element of your application that they're not cool with. So I read, like I was not going to read again. I was successful enough to increase my scores by 30 points. So I got a 650 now, and 650 is still not, to be honest, 650 is not a great score. I mean, I know Nigerians in school with me that have a 740. So I'm like, anyways, you get the gist. So I had to make a decision again. Should you just calm down and wait till next year and forget this your MBA before 30 dream? And just calm down, give it the time you need, prepare for the exam, and write it and apply with a better score. But again, the stubborn part of me was like, Guy, what's the worst that will happen? They've already said no once anyway. So what they will say is, okay, Guy, don't apply again this year, just apply next. So I called my admission officer and discussed with her, like, my scores, I've written the exam again, my score has increased and I want to apply with this score. She looked at it, she said, she doesn't think I should apply with this course because for some reasons, because they don't just look at the scores, they also look at like what did you score in quant, what did you score in verbal, and blah, blah. And my quant at the time was quite bad for some reason. So she was like, you're not like 70th percentile in this area. So my push would be, go improve your score in that way, in that area, and then we apply. And maybe I should quickly mention that. So your total score is one thing, but how you do in the different elements, quant, verbal, I think there's analytical writing and one other thing, I can't remember right now.
Integrated reasoning.
Exactly. Those things also count to whether you get in or not. So it's not just saying I scored 700. Although chances are that if you are scoring a 700 and above, you've already like balanced stuff out across those levels. So long story short, I think I'm getting to storytelling more, so let me just cut it short. Long story short, she advised me not to apply. I decided to apply all the same because the decision was mine and not hers. And I got in with 650. And the rest of the story is history. What is a bad score? I still like, to be honest, I agree that 650 is not a great score to apply to any top 10 school. So, which is why I say if I was to coach someone to prepare, what I would do differently is I wouldn't rush my preparation. I got away with it for some reason, thank God, but I wouldn't advise, like I would, if I was to go back in time, I would take more time to prepare for the exam, get a score that puts me under less pressure that I was in at the time, and then improves my chances of getting in. But it also begs the question of, it's not only about the GMAT. So there's your essays, there's every other thing, your work experience that you're looking at. So have a great GMAT score, yes, it helps you get through the door, but also think about the total application that you have. To be honest, I think anything less than a 650 is a bad score. And just because I got it with a 650. And I never saw any other person who had a lower score than 650 while on campus. So again, that's my own story.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And just to be clear, is INSEAD just GMAT? Can you use GRE for INSEAD?
You would have to check the website to get the latest information on that. But at the time I was applying, I think they allowed GRE in certain countries, but I'm not sure is the answer. But I'm sure they would have that information on the website.
On the website, okay, thank you. Then just a quick one on work experience, right, which is also part of your experience, your application rather. So at what level should I start considering an MBA? In 2 years, in no experience at all, 5 years? I mean, we have the average work experience that's 5.6. Do I have to eat 5.6, or what should I do?
So this is, since it's INSEAD specifically, I think generally INSEAD like favors more work experience than less. Speaking broadly, it also depends on what school you're going to. I think kind of US schools are like on the lower end of the averages here. But for INSEAD, I to be honest, 3 years is from anywhere between 3 and 5 is fine. 3 to 5 is fine. 3 to 5 years is fine. So you can start to apply because application takes 1 year. So you can start to apply from your second year of work if it's really that much of an importance to you. But I would just chill and do 3 years of work experience and then start to apply and go like in my 4th year of work or whatever. But 3 to 5 years is great. However, they tend to favor more on the upper side than the lower side, right? So most people I've met on campus have worked for 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Then also about diversity of experience. So what if I'm not in investment banking, I'm not in consulting, or the big guys? Should I still consider an MBA if it's something I'm interested in, and do I get a chance?
The answer is yes, you should consider an MBA. So first question is, why do you want an MBA? Right? And I don't know if that's the question that is within the context of this session, but there's always that, why are you doing this? And if you have a good reason to do an MBA, then it drives you. Because go back to what I said earlier, I said that one of the things I believe the committee is always solving for is having a diverse pool of candidates.
Yes.
So having not worked in the big names means that you're different. And that's something that you should carry gong and play it loud and clear for people to hear. However, you need to show context, right? So if you've worked in an organization that is in Nigeria that nobody knows, you have like if you say, for example, I work at KPMG, someone in France knows what KPMG is. But if you say you work in another organization that's not a multinational, for example, and they don't know it, you need to help them see your context. So it goes back to the context that I mentioned earlier. So you might actually have valuable experience more than someone who was working at KPMG, but you need to make the whatever is reading your essay, you need to make them see it. So in describing your work experience, the things you've learned, in writing your stories, let all the right nuances come alive. So I don't think big names, I mean, a lot of my colleagues who are from countries that I'm not familiar with, they're not from US or UK, like they've schooled and worked in places that I don't know of, but they are great places in their own context, right? So I think context matters here. Just tell your story. Like if you've not worked in a company that has a big name, the fact of the matter is you've not worked there anyway. So what do you have that you can tell to the world and make them see the value that you bring on board? If you're going to add value to the class, then you get in. And there are a lot of people that apply from companies with big names that don't get in. So yeah, context, I would say matters most.
Okay, great. So moving on to recommendations. I know earlier you mentioned position and title don't matter. Get someone that can talk about you, talk about what you've done very well. But what's your stance on helping your recommenders, right? So we're Nigeria, for example, if I'm reaching out to my professor in school or my lecturer in school, the man is telling me, I don't have time. Come and write your recommendation and let me sign it, right? Or there's that perspective. What is your stance on that? Then how can you also help your recommenders align with the story you're trying to tell? Basically, what do you need to do when you're working with them? Because of course they can't remember everything about you, right? So how can you help them say that this is the story I'm telling, this is the essay I have, and this is the how I want you to align basically with my story?
I mean, I'll be surprised if whoever is recommending you can write a good recommendation without talking to you. I'll be very surprised. Should you write it and send to them and just tell them to sign? Well, I think there's an ethical decision to be made there. So I don't know that that's the right thing to do. But I like you need to have a conversation with whoever is writing, like recommending you. At the least, they need to understand what your goal is. What does the school want to hear? What are they looking forward to? They probably also need to like get a sense of the rest of your application. How have you approached it, right? And then so that they can know how their own story fits into the larger piece. So absolutely have a conversation with whoever is going to recommend you. The level of relationship you have with them would, like in my case, right? I did have a conversation with the two people that recommended me. Like, actually, this suggests point. Like, these are the things I want to come out. What do you think? And they were like, okay, this makes sense, but I don't think this makes sense because these guys are also like experienced. They've probably been to business school, so they even know more than you, right? They worked many more years. In my case, it was a partner in KPMG and a tech, entrepreneur who has done all of these executive MBA programs kind of stuff in INSEAD and elsewhere, right? So they can even see. So I feel like it's a collaborative process, right? They need to understand what you're trying to achieve, but they also need to like help you contextualize their own recommendations such that it's fitting into your story. Because you stand in risk of, if you write your recommendation and send someone to just sign or push via email or whatever it is, the medium for submitting that is, it's just you. It's just your own thoughts, which is probably already in your essays. So chances are that the admissions committee reads your essay, they think, oh, the key takeaway here is that this guy is great. And then they read your recommendation, the same key takeaway is great. So there's no additional information that's coming into, make your application richer than it is if you were doing it all by yourself. So I see the recommendation part as not just someone rubber stamping me that I'm a great guy. I also see it as an opportunity for someone to provide a different side, a different perspective that I'm not even looking at when I'm looking at my application. So I'm not going to advise full on write a letter or something and let them rubber stamp. But I think you do need to engage to have the conversation. They need to understand what you're trying to do. I mean, in my case, the moment I was applying, I already reached out to them. Like, I'm going to be applying to INSEAD. I'm going to need your recommendation at some point. So it's not just when I needed a recommendation that I went to meet this guy to say, come and write me a letter. So it's a journey. right? Which is why I said you need people that know you, people that can speak to the facts of your strengths. They're going to ask them about your weaknesses. How do you, people have an issue with answering that question, what's your weakness? Maybe your recommenders have a better way to like really pinpoint areas that you need to develop in, right? Or develop on, that an MBA or whatever it is you're applying for can even help you like grow in that regard. So I see it as you need their help, they need your help. Like it's a two-way street, right? And yes, you definitely should provide context to your recommenders as well, because eventually it's your application. But I wouldn't just write everything and get them to. At best, you stand the risk of saying the same thing in a different way, which doesn't help your application, to be honest.
True, true. Okay, moving on to funding. I mean, this is big for us, right? We have, I think INSEAD is about what? It's 7,000 euros, thereabout. And that's a lot of money, considering how Naira is doing these days, right? I know that INSEAD has merit-based scholarships and there are also need-based scholarships. So first, did you get any form of funding? And do we have any form of 100% funding for Africans that are available for Africans? I know there are some here and there, but do we have anyone for Africans that we
Okay.
can?
So funding is a big question that people have, maybe even bigger than GMAT.
Yeah.
Again, if someone is in school, if a Nigerian could get there, like I can get there. If a Nigerian can afford it, whether they paid it themselves or someone paid it, like you can do it. To be very, very like specific in my answer, right? Did I get funding first? Yes, I did get funding. I think the first thing I want to say is funding is a very important consideration to your application, not your application, to finally going to school. However, it does nothing to do with your applying. Now, why I say this is because I know thousands of people, I mean, I exaggerate here, but quite a few people that would never apply because when they think about the fact that it's something €1,000 or whatever €1,000, okay. Yeah, okay, I understand, but this is not funny, right? So, but what you don't realize is you don't require 7,000 whatever it is to write GMAT to get an offer. Like the only moment where you need that money is when you actually have an offer and you need to go to school. Now, there are a lot of opportunities out there. If you don't have an admission letter from your school, you cannot access any of these opportunities. So, whilst you should keep funding on your dashboard, but in one corner, focus on the fact that even if you were to overcome this funding issue, the first step is getting an admission letter. And I feel like if you push through to get an admission letter to go to school, I don't know anyone, maybe it's possible, but I don't know anyone who has gotten an offer that did not make funding work somehow. So focus first on the big step, which is, first step is overcome writing GMAT, write GMAT. Second step is overcome applying, apply. Third step is, get an offer letter. When you get an offer letter, then you can go and meet someone and say, okay, I have an offer to go to school. I don't have money. What opportunities are available to me? And then you can have that conversation. That said, INSEAD does a lot of scholarships. It's also one of the reasons why I chose to go to INSEAD, because I did not, at the time I was applying, maybe not even now, I don't know. I did not have the money I didn't have the cash myself to be able to fund, how much was it then? 85,000 euros, I think, right? So they do a combination of scholarships that are like broad-based, merit-based, need-based, and there's like very specific scholarships to certain geographies. You only get a full scholarship because, okay, not because, but the scholarship pool is donor-based. So if there's a donor that wants to give a full scholarship, then you would have a full scholarship available for that year. So the scholarship pool changes every year based on what donors are donating to the scholarship fund for that academic year. So what that means is a lot of times you don't get full scholarships. But sometimes you do. Like I know in Nigeria, that was there a year before me that got 100% funding for INSEAD. He spent nothing to go to INSEAD. And in my year, I'm not sure there was that scholarship, to be honest. But I guess my point is it depends on the year you apply and what is available. But I feel like for Africans, there's a lot of opportunity. So on the board, I can already see all these £50,000 or euros, all of these things. In my case, I got a funding offer for about 70% of the cost of tuition, which, to be honest, is like a very good relief from having to pay like the full tuition. So how do you fund it? I guess there are three options available to you. You either have the money to spend, which is very clear to everyone. So you have your money, and that's great. Two, you're on scholarship, and that's great as well. Or you have a combination of you have your money, you have some scholarship. So that's still two. The third one is you take a loan, right? I would believe that people should do like more recent research on this because I'm not sure I have the latest thinking as to what opportunities are out there. Like because I'm not applying to go to school right now, I can't really say what are the opportunities for scholarships because I'm not looking in that direction. But I feel like there might be other opportunities out there that people are looking at. But there's stuff in Nigeria that you can look at. There's certain scholarship funds, foundations here and there. For most people, though, I think the easiest way to get funding is actually to get from the school's scholarship fund. So all of these donors coming together is like some of the easiest way to get access to funding. And for a lot of guys, it may just be a combination of my money, scholarship, and then a loan. In my case, it was my small money, very small money, a lot of scholarship, and a subset of a loan as well to fund my MBA. Does that answer all the elements of your question? I'm just checking out. Did I answer?
Yes, you did. And I think just to re-emphasize again, and I think even our other speakers mentioned this, that I think funding should be like almost the last thing on your mind. The biggest is getting an admission. Like if you can really get an admission, you're most likely going to go to school than if you don't have an admission. So yes, it's a lot of money, yes, we know, but it's just start, write the GMAT, submit an application, and then we can come and start talking about the money. And today we actually have something from the Narrative Africa. We have an expert. First, we have an application fee scholarship for somebody. So if you're applying to any business school this year, based on a particular criteria that we'll talk about later on, you would get an application fee of about $200, if it's cap of $200 basically, courtesy of the Narrative Africa. I'm hoping people are screaming in the chat and be like, "Who? It's dollars, so it's not small money."
I'm screaming on their behalf.
Okay, so then moving on, we also have an expert here that is, I mean, when Kafi was speaking, he talked about your essay, crafting your story, and learning the art, that it is an art. It's not necessarily just saying, I can do this, I'm great. There's an art of storytelling, and there's an art of how you should do things. And today, we just thought to bring someone that would help us understand that, and also is in the business of helping people write stories for various applications. I mean, this person got a Commonwealth scholarship, by the way, and she has decided to share her experience with the team, and she also has a business. She has a business that helps people with their essay, so they do essay review, and in some seconds she'll be coming up to talk to us about our program, business rather, which is Pre-Need Consult, and how they help various applicants with graduate school applications. So her name is Praise Adeyemo, and I would have her up right now. Hi, Praise.
Hi, Faye. Good evening, everybody. Or good afternoon. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. Can we see your face?
No, that's my face.
Okay.
I don't know if my camera is working. Can you see my face? No, I don't think so. No?
No.
Okay, my camera is not working. Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I've got 5 minutes here.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So good evening, Mp. As said, she has introduced me nicely. Yeah. So my name is Praise, and I just finished my master's in One Health at the University of London, and I am a Nigerian Yoruba. So all of you. Yeah. So I run an essay reviews service, and basically what we do there is when people like upload their CVs, sorry, their essays. Huh. When people upload their essays, no matter what the essay is meant for, especially for graduate school applications, we try to be critical with our reviews because just like Fini said, that the other speaker mentioned, that you really need to master the art of writing your essays. You know, it's more like storytelling, depending on what the question is. Sophie, if you would move to the next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm very sure that many people review essays for people, but the what makes us really stand out is, I mean, so many things. The first is the phone call. So we usually have these phone calls, or we call it like a consultation session with people who use our service, who have uploaded their essays, or people who have interacted with us maybe via social media or the website, and we just want to like have an understanding of where they are coming from. You know, we have certain questions we want to ask them. And then based on what they've written, perhaps there are other gaps that we think need to be filled. Perhaps their essays are lacking specific information. Would also get that from the phone consultation. Then when we're done reviewing the essay, we'll send you basically two documents. The first would be a comprehensive review, you know, kind of breaking down what you have written in terms of the content, the grammar, and the structure. And then the other document, of course, is going to be like the reviewed essay. One thing we try to emphasize on all the time is that postgraduate school applications are like the opportunity that you have to sell yourself, you know, especially through your essays. And it's always good for you to be the one to write your essays. So that is one thing we try to emphasize, because I've seen so many people who have reached out to us asking us to write their essays for them from the beginning. And that is not really a good way to go about it. It's better for you to write your essay and have somebody review your essay. And that's because you want to get rid of plagiarism, but you also want to own your story, especially when it comes to your interview. So if you're going to be interviewed for your applications, you don't want a situation in which what you're saying in the interview doesn't match up with what you have in your essays. So we always encourage people to write their essays and send us the draft, and then we'll take it up from there. The next slide, please. Yes, so there are so many tips, but I'm just going to keep all the tips to three basic things. The first is you need to do your research. So what school are you applying to? I mean, so I know that most of you on this call would be applying for MBA or business related courses for business schools and all that. You really need to conduct your research. So why do you want that school? Why is that school, or why is that course? Yeah, I think it should be school, because most of you would be applying for MBA anyways. So why is that school your choice? Why is it your preferred choice? I've seen some, so I reviewed an MBA application some time ago, and I saw there was one question that was very funny that I'd never seen before in previous applications. And I think maybe it's clear to MBA applications. The question was, so what's the thing about our school that is different from other MBA programs in other schools? You know, so you must have conducted your research on stuff like that. You don't just want to go straight into writing your essay because you think that, you know, you can write, but you really need to conduct your research, find out so many things about the school, the course. And one way to also do that is by going through the modules on the school's website. So you want to check the curriculum, want to check the subjects, the modules, the courses you'll be taking and all of that. So it's such information you might want to include in your essays. Then the second point is you need to keep it direct. So I've seen, I don't know if this is a Nigerian thing, you know, we like to go around the bush, you know, we like to like parabulate and go round and round before we drive home the point. You know, the best way to actually write your essay is if they ask you, are you a girl? The answer is yes, I'm a girl. Don't start by saying, so there are two types of gender. It's either you're male or female, and then you have sexes, blah, blah, blah. I mean, answer the question first, be direct, and then you can use other information that you have to support what you're writing. Then the last thing, which is like the most important point, is you need to start writing your essays really early. Okay, you shouldn't wait till the end. And the importance of starting your essay very early is it gives you ample time to, it gives you ample time to have your draft. And when I say draft, I'm not talking about the draft that you're sending out for somebody to review, but the points that you really, really want to the points that you really want to include in your essay. You want to mention that. And another thing about you starting early is that at the end of the day, when you start your essays early, you have enough time to actually send it out for people to help you check. And when people are checking your essays, it's always good for you to send it to somebody who can check the grammar and all that, but also somebody who is in that field. And Fee, the next slide, please. No, the previous one. No. I think there should be, yes, this one. So yeah, would be given, okay, I should say many thanks to Fee for this on your behalf. So we'll be giving out, I think it's just one free slot to someone here. And the question really is, what approach should you use for your essays? So maybe the first person to, give us the answer to this is going to get, yeah, maybe you want to unmute your audio or you want to chat.
No, chat, please. So the first person to answer this question, everybody would get a free review from Praise and would also get the application fee. And you must be applying this this round. So your response is the best response wins, basically, or the first, if we like the response. So yes, guys, this is it though. Freebie, freebie, freebie. Use the chat box.
I see school research. Okay, yeah. But I mean, does the person want to elaborate?
Okay, so Yinka, or you can please unmute yourself. Hello, are you there? You there. Okay, since we're not getting any response, I have an Adirunke Lawal Praise. How's that response?
Yeah. Okay, I like this response. I like this. This is a very good response. I forgot any other person that wants to say anything.
One, two, three, 4, 5. Okay.
Okay. So it looks, yeah. I think
Can you say something, please? Yes, please unmute yourself and speak.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Can you?
Yes, we can.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Have I won?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. So congratulations. Please send us an email at The Narrative Africa and we would put you to Praise. And I hope you are applying this year though.
Yes, I'm writing my June of December though.
All right, no problem. So yes, we would just, please send us an email. We'll connect you with Praise as well. And when you're about to submit your application, we would be giving you $200.
Wow. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So moving on to back to Kafil. Hi, Kafil.
Hi, still here. I haven't left yet.
Okay. Just like the last second to the last question for you just before. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Praise. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you for giving our community this chance to be able to, learn from your wealth of experience, and really, really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. And yeah, just so that we can round up, we're far behind schedule. I think for me, one question is, post MBA now, right? After MBA, after you've done all this, you've gotten in, the INSEAD experience is amazing. How does INSEAD, both the school and the community, help you with getting jobs post MBA, right? And secondly, I want to know why you came back to Nigeria.
Okay, so how does the school help? Couple of things. There's a career development center that prepares you for the job market, right from, actually they start working with you before you resume campus. So they do all these things around helping you write your CVs in a way that makes it stand out. How should you develop your pitch to recruiters and all of these things? They also provide you with job opportunities. So to start with, they try to like reach out to top organizations that are looking for MBA hires and then bring them on campus for like info sessions, networking sessions. A lot of times people even do like interviews on campus. In my case, I applied to McKinsey, did all my interviews on campus, right? So they do all of this info sessions, networking opportunities, career sessions to just ensure that you're exposing you to the right, you know, they're giving you the right exposure to employers or potential employers in the future. So there's that. So there's that networking opportunity. There's the how do you like position yourself, which is your CVs, your pitch, and all of that. You know, for lack of a better word, packaging yourself as a product to sell. And then there's all this connecting you with like relevant alumni in certain industries or geographies that you might be looking to relocate to after your MBA program. So they try to like serve as the bridge as well because they've worked with people over the years. They know, so if you're trying to do like, I don't know, machine learning in Japan or whatever in Tokyo, you know, or do consumer goods in the US, you know, they try to like serve as the bridge between you and recruiters to start with, but also alumni, such that they can help you like land the jobs that you're trying to get. Now, when you leave school, if you're still looking for opportunities, you're looking to change jobs, right? There's always the ongoing alumni support. There's always the ongoing career services. So we have what we call the lifelong services at INSEAD, where you keep getting opportunities to like join sessions. You have lifetime access to a job portal where people keep posting new stuff, and you can always apply directly through the INSEAD network. And yes, there's all the reach out to alumni if you still want to, if all these are still not getting you to where you want to get to, right? So you can also like reach out to alumni and all of that. But I feel like there's a lot of support in trying to help you first identify what you should do next, because that's the big question that a lot of people have going into an MBA. So what exactly should I do? Should I do consulting, or banking, or big tech, whatever it is? So there's a lot of engagement to help you decide on what the right path would be, but also help you land the jobs that you need. Why did I come back to Nigeria? Is why not?
Just love Nigeria.
The question is why not?
I mean, most people you speak to, they just want to, I mean, I'm part of that anyways. Just want to, get an MBA and then just go to Microsoft, to Facebook, and then, vegan. That part out of Nigeria.
So I've not been one that wants to jackpot out of Nigeria for whatever reason. I like Nigeria. I like Lagos. I mean, I know we have issues, big issues, right? And we should address these issues. But I feel like, I guess one of the line mentality I have is you can do great wherever you are. So it's not a function of geography.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree that there might be better opportunities in certain geographies than other geographies, but that's casting a general net into the ocean. So generally speaking, if you fish in the deep end of the ocean, you're likely to catch bigger fish than if you fish in the shallow end. But that said, because I like to personalize stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is the general balance, or this is the general context, but what is my own context, right? And I feel like, yeah, I'm not convinced yet that I should leave Nigeria. The second thing is I really don't like the cold out there. For a lot of people, it's not a big deal. People look forward to catching up, wearing jackets, and it's a big issue for me. So even if I was to live abroad, like I want to travel. Like my goal has always been to travel and not live abroad. So yeah, like for me, it was a no-brainer on deciding to come back to Nigeria or not. I did consider not coming back. I mean, there's no way you leave the shores of Nigeria and live in Europe for 1 year and not be like, am I really going back? But when you think about the longer context of what exactly am I trying to achieve with my own life, I see better prospects for myself here than elsewhere. If you ask me this question tomorrow, it might change, but based on what I know right now and what I'm tracking towards, um, I'm more comfortable here in terms of weather, which is not a big issue, but for me, it's a big issue. Like, it is really a big issue. Like, I really don't like it. I can't understand why people travel abroad in winter. I really can't understand. But everybody has what they like or do not like. But that said, I feel like from a professional standpoint, I'm really interested in contributing to Nigeria's growth as a nation in whatever way I can without sacrificing on my own personal ambitions as well. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for growth here in the next couple of decades or horizon. And yeah, it just makes sense for me now to be here and be positioned for that rather than being elsewhere. And again, we live in a global world today. Like, you can really do great stuff anywhere you are. So yeah, maybe there's that as well.
Fair enough.
But I have no issues with people who want to go abroad and jackpot. Like, in the long run, everyone needs to decide what makes sense for them. So
yeah,
if going to Canada is the solution,
the way. Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing session. I've had so much fun, and I think at the end of every session, I would always want to be like, oh, should I change my goal and maybe go to INSEAD? Everybody's always a great ambassador of their school. You really just want to change and say, oh, okay, maybe I should consider INSEAD. It was really enlightening. It was
let me help you decide on that question in a very sentence. Now, if you go to the US, you get pretty much the same thing from all of the US schools, right? Because there's a lot of US influence on US schools. But if you really want a distinct, different experience, that is not, because a lot of our world is already US influenced, right? So if you want a different experience that is still global, but different, like genuine, 1 year in INSEAD, try will convince you. When you're done with INSEAD, you don't think it's the right thing that you cannot go to US.
Oh my God, thank you. Elevator pitch finish. Time to apply to INSEAD. Okay, thank you so much, Kafio. I mean, guys, do you have any questions? We're open to questions right now. Pending, please just send me a chat, and if we've not covered it before, I will just take it very quickly. Pending that, this is the deadlines for INSEAD for this year. I mean, you should go to their website. For September 11 is round 1. If you are, except you plan submitting that date, you probably can meet it. But there's still round 2 for November 6th this year, round 3 for January 8th, that's next year, and round 4. So if you're interested, you really need to, start, write your GMATs and start the whole process. And of course, like Kafil said, reach out to people that are in the school, learn the art, know what you need to do to get there. You can all get there. You're welcome, Adirun Kela. Well, I don't have any questions, so I want to believe that there are no questions for Kafil at this point in time.
Sorry, one final point. Sorry.
No.
There's a difference between starting in INSEAD in January versus starting in September. And the big difference is January starts allow you to do a 2-month internship in between. So, and that's significant information, right? Because one of the reasons why you also want to go to the US is because you want to do an internship, right? Yeah. So if an internship is very, very important to you, but you still want to do a 1-year program, then you should consider starting in January.
Okay.
So January, you do January to June, you take July and August for your internship, you come back and do September to December. I just thought to cheat that.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. So that would mean if I want to get in for January, I have to have applied by round 2 November 6th.
No, so there is a different deadline for January starts. This, what you have right now is for September starts. September, October. So if you look at the website, there's a different set of deadlines for January starts. Round 1 for January starts is always somewhere around March of the preceding year.
Oh, right. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that clarification. See, this is why we get experts so that they can tell us the right thing. Okay, right now we're rounding up. I'll be handing over to Sheon Yusuf, my partner, who would be basically telling us our next chat. We're super rounding up with MBA series and it's been amazing so far. Hi, Sheon, are you there for us?
Yeah, hi Finn, hi everyone. Good evening. Uh, Kafil, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Despite your busy schedule and taking out time to explain your experience and tell us your story. Even me right now, I'm now considering, should I do MIT or I should stick to my Harvard or I should come to INSEAD? Well, thanks to you so much. We are super grateful and well done, Finn. Thank you to everyone that's been with us since we started the starting your MBA journey series. We started with Harvard, then we went to Stanford and Wharton, and now we are doing INSEAD, which is the last of this MBA series. Thank you for joining. When we had this idea on paper, we had one simple goal. We wanted to inspire the average African to go after their dreams and just get them started. We wanted to bring the story of other Africans that are doing what they want to do and let them know that this is actually possible. Like stories like Kafil that is already inspiring someone like me, and also I believe this story has also inspired you to get started fully. So I'll tell you, if you've not yet paid for your GMAT, if you listen very well, Kafil said the first thing you should do is to just lock out. I know it's $250 right now, so just lock that $250 out of your account and just get to pay. Go to the website and get to make payment. Choose a date well ahead, at least 3 months ahead, so that you could start prepping. And we wish you the best. Also, aside this is like our last MBA series. We'll be starting our business chat series a couple of weeks from now. The sole aim of the Narrative Africa is to bring closer the story of other Africans that are excelling in different spaces, bring that story and the experience closer to us so we can interact with it. We can learn from them, engage them, understand their thought processes and how they achieve this so-called success, so that it is going to be easy for us while trailblazing that same path. So we'll tell you to be on standby. Follow us on our social media platforms. Where we'll start the business chat series. The business chat series, we're going to be engaging top business leaders that have consistently created value in different sectors of the economy within Africa. So from non-profits to for-profit company to governance, whoever has consistently created value, I would get to engage this person so that we could get to learn and see how we could, take one or two things out of the story and make Africa a better place. You can see our social media platforms, social media handles on the screen right now. Please do well to follow us on Instagram at The Narrative Africa, on Twitter at The Narrative AFR, and YouTube. All videos from Harvard to Stanford to Wharton on our YouTube channel, The Narrative Africa. So all these questions on how other Africans excelled and ace their essay, the application process and everything is on our YouTube channel. So you might want to do well to go back and check and refresh your memory. Perhaps you'd get some more useful tips while you apply. So lastly, I'll say thank you so much for staying with us till this time. Kafil, thank you so much. We're super grateful. And please get started. Pay for that MBA application, buy the material, choose schedule a calendar, reading calendar, perhaps maybe your friend or just you, so you have reminders that come in when you have to start reading and stuff like that. We want you to succeed. We want to hear your success story. Please. So all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kafil. Thank you, everybody that has been joining consistently for 4 weeks. I've been happy to host you. I mean, you made hosting very easy. So yeah, thank you so much. And bye.
Yeah, Finn, you've been a great host. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Fee. Thanks, Shion. Is Blessing still on the call? Thanks,
No, you
Blessing.
have to drop off for a bit.
Yeah, Blessing dropped off not quite long.
No worries. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Enjoy the week ahead.
Yes,
You
have a
too.
great, wow, it's Monday already. Have a great week ahead.
It is Monday.